Hey, it's Tim. Pickup truck plus SUV talk. Yes. That's my new kind of thing. I don't know what the hell I'm doing tonight. But anyways, we're doing a live stream tonight because live streams are awesome. We have a great show for tonight. We have the man himself who's nearing, I got to say this, I've been watching closely, 1 million subscribers. We have Andre from TFL Truck.
Thank you, Tim. You have been watching, huh?
I've been watching closely. I update my YouTube page every time. I'm sure your numbers are more accurate than mine are, but I was watching that closely.
No, we've been very fortunate. Thank you for having me on this episode. Obviously, well, TFL Truck technically is almost 9 years old, maybe more. So 1 million subscriptions soon.
Yes. Is Roman give you like a pizza party?
I'm expecting a cake.
There you go. I know Roman listens to this. Roman, you have to deliver a cake. Coming to us.
We got to be specific. What kind of cake? I'm derailing the conversation early.
I think, whatever the cheapest cake is at King Soopers or Kroger, I think that's the one.
Okay. And we have the 5-foot wonder from Chicago. Oh, wait. From California, because the plane wouldn't fly because, we have Justin over here.
Yeah, not from Chicago.
No,
in an undisclosed location this week.
Getting straight something that she was sending pictures of being at the pool, so not jealous at all.
Getting stranded in Palm Springs, like that's the worst thing in the universe.
It's absolutely horrible, and this hotel is just miserable.
Right.
And from the big Ohio State with the Ohio State Buckeye biggest fan, Chad Kirchner from EV Pulse.
.net.org.
So I brought you all here because we're going to talk about the experiences we had last week in person, because for whatever reason we all decided to show up in Indianapolis.
Wait, yeah, I saw you all last week in Indianapolis. That is so weird.
We're having a reunion.
Yeah, it was a comeback tour. Yeah, one of those things. So we were at the Work Truck Show. No, wait. It's Work Truck Week, and Work Truck Show is the exhibit hall. I was corrected on it today, and it's a massive hall. I think it's one of those places that, if I give you an idea of size, they had like Class 8 trucks in there that looked small.
The Indiana Convention Center is actually one of the biggest in the country. And the Work Truck Show / Work Truck Week, this is the first year they called it that, is the second largest convention they have in there. There is some sort of gaming convention that happens in the summer that all of our mutual friends Nicole used to go to quite a bit. But yeah, it's a very, very big place.
Okay, so
I thought Chicago Convention Center was the biggest, Jill.
Yeah, I think McCormick has the potential to be the largest. I know the show floor, when we're in both halls for the Chicago Auto Show, is 1.2 million square feet. So I don't know what the space is at the
That's why I said one of instead of the biggest, Andre.
I don't know. I don't know what the space is.
I'm just correcting Andre.
Okay, you can correct Andre anytime, but don't try and correct me, because then we'll have a problem.
We're writing like a Wikipedia article on this, folks. I was just making a comment there. All right, Andre, let's kick off with you. You've been to the show many times. I think when you went before, you didn't have any gray hair. Is that correct? I think I saw the videos on that. Is that correct?
Yes,
that's not gray hair, by the way. Those are just highlights.
Salt and pepper. Yes. I think this was my third show. I didn't go last year, because of COVID, and the year prior. So normally, I think every time I've done this show, I was kind of a one-man band. Mm-hmm. Usually because it's kind of a work truck show, and it's not a typical auto show. It's a little bit unpredictable, what you can see and what you cannot see there. So I have to be there, right? It's about trucks. So yeah, some gray hair was gained at that event.
I think it's worth noting that it is a trade show. It's not open to the public, so it's
yes.
Well, yeah, it's like SEMA for the truck folks.
Yeah, a little bit harder to get credentials for this than SEMA, though. SEMA kind of lets everybody and their mother in.
Yeah, SEMA's the thing,
but they let me in somehow.
Yeah,
that they did.
I mean, you've been many times. Are you still wowed by the big work trucks? I mean, I don't know about you, but I was trying to get Jill to get on top of a snowplow. I just couldn't make that happen.
Hey, I got on top of a crane though, like a hoist where they like hoisted me into a truck. I think that should count for something.
I do have video of that if people want to see that.
Yeah. Yep. It was fun.
No, Tim, the variety of stuff there is amazing. And, you think you've seen big trucks, right? We drive some heavy duty 1-ton trucks. They look tiny, right, compared to a lot of the working vehicles. Like I remember there was one like neon green truck. I don't know if you remember it. It was like an Oshkosh. Mm-hmm. It was like, I think it was converted to be a plow, right? But it was like the tires were about 5 feet tall. It was insane.
Yeah, they were Jill size. That was, I think I saw that same one. It had an Alaska plate on it, which I was like, oh, okay. I think the bolts on the side of that to attach the snowplow are bigger than my head.
Yes.
Yeah.
That thing was massive. So, Chad.
Heavy stuff.
Sir.
You have been to the show many times because
I have. This is probably my 5th or 6th year.
It's just what, a 10-minute drive for you? 15? I mean,
yeah, about 20 minutes. No, it's 3.5 hours from door to door, basically. What's really cool about Work Truck Show from like my perspective is, because I've been going longer than I've been doing this EV stuff, is like the people there are making purchase decisions. They're not buying 1 truck or 2 trucks. They're buying 50 trucks. They're seeing those giant Jerdans, whatever. Like I'm gonna totally screw this all up for the audience. Sorry. But I mean, these just massive rigs, these massive tow trucks that they use up in Alaska to flip over rigs, and like it's a lot of really, to a general consumer, possibly even boring, but it's really how the world works. It's how transportation functions. It's how building trades get sites. It's how work gets done. I mean, it is a work truck show. But what's cool is seeing sort of stuff there that you wouldn't normally expect to see at a traditional sort of show. And really, like, if you get a chance to talk to any of the people, and I don't like people, so I don't talk to many, but if you get a chance to talk to some of those people or overhear conversations, I mean, these people are making big purchase decisions on the show floor in a way that you never see at an auto show.
Yeah. Speaking of being bored, I dragged Jill to the show this year for the first time. So, Jill, you've been to Indy quite a bit, but you've never been to this show.
I have not.
So, your first impressions?
It was really kind of cool just to walk around, and I was more interested in the gadgets and the things that go along with the trucks than I was the actual trucks themselves. So like the hoist I was talking about, and oh God, I can't even remember the name of the company at this point. I think it's like National Fleet Products. I think that was the name of it. And that was really cool because they basically could lift up to 1,100 pounds, and it would like this crane comes out of the inside of the van and can pick up the load and then just carries it in, and then you can set it down and drop it and like pick up the next thing. And it made me kind of think of like one of those monster claws in the machines, and you just be like, but I don't know. I thought that was really cool. I thought the deck display was really neat with all of the things you could put in the truck bed with the drawers and the hinges and the things like that. So I got a kick out of that. But one of the coolest opportunities I had was to drive the new BrightDrop EV600. Because they also do the ride and drive programs with some of the big fleet trucks. And so like if you have a CDL, you could go drive a semi. Neither Tim nor I have a CDL, so we could not do that. But it was cool to drive that BrightDrop vehicle, which is all electric. And it's based on the Ultium platform from General Motors. And you could tell there were some General Motors features in there. So like, as I would get close to something, my seat would vibrate. That's a GM thing. But all of the safety tech, all of the, lessons learned from longevity of GM products are in this basically startup vehicle. So I don't know. So I thought that was cool. It was one of those things where it was just like, okay, this is really neat. And the experiences were neat. And I could see how somebody who is in the business looking for either trucks, if they're buying 50 trucks, or they're just looking for things to put in trucks that they already have. Like I actually got a message from somebody who was asking me not about the hoist from that National Fleet Products, but the ramp, because they saw the ramp that was on a hinge and would swing out and then come down. And so they were asking about some of their other products. So I don't know. So it was kind of, I found the coolness in the products that go along with the trucks, not the trucks themselves.
I do want to talk a little bit more about the BrightDrop stuff, Jill, since you brought it up. But before we do that, I'd like to point out that you could probably fit in a normal crane game. You don't need to do the big, heavy duty one. Tim stepped out, so somebody has to take his place.
No.
So I mean, you're one of the first people to drive it. I mean, what do you think? Obviously, it has GM safety features and stuff like that in it, but like
life with kids. So you guys talk about yourself for a second. He's fine. I'm going to pull up the video, Jill, if I can, with my technical limited capability.
Okay,
got it. So we're talking amongst ourselves. So what did I think? I really liked it. It was very smooth and incredibly quiet. They did a lot of work with the sound deadening materials, I think, so that and the fit and finish was really good because you didn't hear any squeaks and rattles. I didn't really hear a lot of the ambient noise. So we're downtown Indianapolis. Now, it's no downtown Chicago, but there's city noise that goes on from sirens and other vehicles and motorcycles and things like that. And you really don't hear a lot of that coming into the cabin. And so I was impressed with the quietness and just the ease of driving it. It had the one pedal driving. So, just taking your foot on and off the throttle to adjust your speed. I don't know. So I thought it was very smooth. And for as big of a vehicle as it was kind of the size of a bus. I thought it was very easy to drive. So yeah. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty cool.
It looked like it was the equivalent of a long wheelbase, mid to tall roof. I don't know specifically how BrightDrop breaks their things down, but in like ProMaster or Transit sort of parlance, it looked like it was the longer one with a mid to tall roof. So not a small van at all.
No, not small, but easy to drive for, even somebody my size.
Did you find it, Tim, or can I jump in for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I interviewed one of the designers and engineers on the team of BrightDrop, but I don't know if we mentioned, but it's kind of a division of General Motors, right? And he was very knowledgeable and very cool. And I think what they've done with this delivery van, which is now will be used by FedEx at least and Walmart and some others, is that traditionally those kind of step-in vans, I think one just went by my house, UPS truck. They're usually very basic and sparse, right? They're just a couple sliding doors, a steering wheel, and a seat belt, right? And it's kind of because there's not a lot of regulations in those kind of weight classes. But talking to the designer and the engineer on this project, they actually went, like you said, Jill, it feels like a consumer vehicle, right? It feels like a Silverado or a Tahoe.
No, it's more comfortable than a Silverado or a Tahoe. They do not share the same seats.
Yes, they redesigned the seats because these guys are in there for 9 or 10 hours, right?
Yeah,
driving
every day.
Every single day, working in these vans. And so they kind of rethought what that van is supposed to be, right? And then made it electric too, and big, and it's actually quite heavy. I was talking to him about kind of the curb weight of the van. I think one of the versions they had there at the show was about 8,000 pounds just curb weight. So these are not very light vehicles. These are big vans.
Yeah.
Well, that's not too terribly surprising when they're quoting the range that they're quoting, which is significantly more than like e-Transit, which was built on top of the current Transit platform. Right. And also the Hummer EV has a Civic hatchback battery unit. So
yeah, and the range they're quoting, I want to say, is 250 miles, right?
Yeah.
So that's impressive. Oh, this is
here we go. Can you believe it? My limited technology skills, I made this work. Hold on. we got a little moment of silence here. I got 4 of us on the screen. I got 4 different states, and I got a video to play. This is quite impressive. This
well, you haven't played it yet, so let's see.
This is the test. So this is raw.
Can't hear it.
Let me turn it up. Where's how do you turn it up?
There's Jill. She's sitting on the. I'm gonna narrate. Okay. Jill is sitting on a hook, which looks like an Acme weight.
Yes.
And she's being lifted up into what appears to be a transit van.
With a really cool ramp at the side.
And then she almost gets hit, right? So that was the highlight of Jill's moment in the show.
Well, you know what, I have to say, those guys were great sports, because I looked at them, I saw that, and I was like, I want to sit on it. I want to be hoisted into the truck. And they looked at me and they're like, okay, sure, whatever. And I was like, wait, really? I was only kind of half kidding, and then they did it. I was like, you are awesome. So yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, so that was the big moment. It was interesting because the first guy was like, "Oh, let me try it first." And he's like, "Don't grab hold of cables." And I was like,
"Yeah." He's like, "Grab hold of this right here." Yeah.
don't
we don't want to pinch your hands. We don't want to like lose any fingers here. And I was like, "But I don't want to lose any fingers either."
Okay, so we already kicked it into the EV mode, which surprise is going to happen because that's one of the things. If you look at the Work Truck Show overall, right? They have a new Green Truck Summit. They have an all-day event with green truck stuff, and then they have these big trucks. They're trying to make them work with EVs. Last mile, I can tell you what, I got, 400 emails on last mile delivery EV and autonomous services coming to your door. It seems like every time that I've seen stuff on the show, every time I go on the show, it gets more and more EV focused. Is that what you're thinking there, Andre? Is that what you're seeing over the past couple of years?
Well, at least this year.
Oh,
right?
This year?
I mean, because last year, of course, we missed last year.
Right.
But I was kind of surprised because as I walked the show, and I tried to walk almost at least every alley and every booth, I noticed some companies I haven't heard of before, right? There's some companies from various countries, and there's little trucks, there's motorized, little electric carts, right? And like BrightDrop also has a solution for that. There's like skateboard chassis for big trucks, and I was just it was surprising to see how many different solutions people had as far as electrification. But I think it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was forced, because so a lot of people had like we've talked about Class 8 trucks, a lot of diesel trucks. For example, International Navistar talked about their connected services, basically linking different trucks, and so they weren't super focused yet on electrification. They were focused more about managing the fleets, managing the uptime, and kind of doing the most amount of work. But I was a little surprised by how many different small companies, including even Bollinger, right? Lordstown was there, and others had electrified products.
Yeah, I was surprised there wasn't like a countdown clock in Lordstown. I was really impressed with that.
Their booth was like pretty sad looking.
The doomsday clock. Well, and it's funny because one of my Instagram followers actually asked me to go to the display, the Lordstown display, and take pictures and send it to him. And I was like, all right, I will totally do that for you. And I did, and they tweeted it out and tagged me in it. And yeah, everybody was like, wait, they're still around? I'm like, that's what we all said. So yeah.
I want to ask Chad about this, but before I get to Chad, I have a bone to pick with Dougie Doe, as he goes by. Dougie Doe, before we started this live stream, said, hey, is Tim going to dance a jig since it's St. Patrick's Day? And I thought, A, no, nobody wants to see that. B, I thought, oh, crap, I should have green on. Now, I don't really own much stuff with green, so I was going through my cabinets like crazy, flowing through. I have clothes spread out through my closet like crazy. I mean, it was a mad dash. See what
they're not color coordinated.
I didn't. I have blues.
Your closet is not
right. And then I was like, "You dumbass! You wear a green hoodie for a lot of your videos." So thank you, Doug, for making me feel like a dumbass tonight. Thank you for that one. I was really not happy with you over that one. But that happened a little before the show. That's on a little red face. I was running around quite a bit. So Chad, now I know the highlight of your event from the Work Truck Show was you figured out how to say Stellantis.
Stellantis.
But you found it out from a Boston accent, didn't you?
I did, yeah. No. So it was funny. I was talking to Mike Koval, who's the CEO of Ram Brands, and he kept saying Stellantis. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, he's been in that role for a while. He's led meetings with the French, and like I flat out asked him, I'm like, am I saying this wrong? Like, because maybe I am. Maybe Stellantis is just not how it goes, and
it's just not right for you.
Yeah, and he's like, no, that's my he's like, that's like my Metro Detroit pronunciation, or something of it, like, or Oakland County, I think is where he said that he's from. And then freaking Dave Showers is there, and he goes, I can't even duplicate it because it was so good, but this rather mild mannered marketing executive becomes extremely animated and just like, he's like, and if you're from the Boston area, it's Stellantis. And it was just, I mean, you kind of had to be there. Like, I genuinely had to be there no Dave a little bit, but man, like, it was like, whoa, what is going on? Like, it was both laughing and shock. Like, oh, okay. But
so what is the proper pronunciation after all of that? Stellantis?
I'm pretty sure Stellantis is the way to go, though Mike didn't correct.
Stellantis, not Stellantis.
Stellantis.
We had this happen during this trip, and I'm so excited because
FCA.
Two things happened. First of all,
formerly known as.
I was talking to the chief engineer, Mike Spears. He says hybrid, right?
He
Which
does,
how I say it too. So I'm not the only one. Thank you very much in the comments. I read those too, right? So that and Toyota. So I was watching Andre's video today. I watched a couple of them. I watched the towing with the Tundra, right?
Yeah.
And you say Toyota. No, your Russian twist on this is a little bit. So Chad thinks I say it with a D, and you know
do.
What? He's probably right.
You do. We'll just correct you right there. You do in fact say it with a D.
Right. Jill's forever correcting me on how to say stuff. So I was watching Andre, and now I'm like self-conscious.
So Andre gets a pass because Andre is Russian.
Well,
you are Nebraskan, so you don't.
No. Well, technically, English is not my first language, so I have to apologize. I've been corrected in comments many times. I need to correctly pronounce Toyota, and I often do not, and I apologize once again.
I can't. Born and bred Michigan guy. I can't say it either. I have to add the D. Like
the Tim. I think we came to a conclusion when we were talking about it at Work Truck Show, which is the faster you say it, the more you cut everything off except for like the D in it. So like if you slowly say Toyota, like it almost sounds right. Like it's the closest you get. But if you're rushing through it or saying it sort of at your normal conversation pace or a little quicker, then it's just you lose everything but the D, and it just sounds like duh.
Well, what's the name of the CEO of the company?
Yeah, Toyota.
Akio Toyoda.
Yes.
Da.
Okay.
But Toyota is not Toyota.
But that's not how he spells it.
We are hammering the top questions here tonight, folks.
Tim.
Tim.
Yes. Tim. First, I want to agree with Straight Shooter. Andre's English is very good. You really couldn't tell that it wasn't your first language. I can tell you're from Russia. You have a Russian accent, but you speak English very well. What you were talking about last mile. I mean, not to bring this back to like official like work
back
stuff.
to EVs is what you want to do.
But last mile is the easiest nut to crack.
Right.
So, and it's actually where you can make a lot of difference because if you take the bigger vans and stuff out of it or the longer range trucks, I mean, a lot of delivery vehicles in general just sit and idle. And that wastes that wastes gasoline. Obviously, that's pollution. It's also noise. And if you can electrify that last mile, you eliminate all of that. An electric car can kind of just sit there, or a bike or trolley or whatever this electrified device is, sits there, it doesn't make any noise. It's only going to use electricity when you use it. And it's going to save, it's sort of this general benefit. And as cities start to even noise pollution is, you know, you can't work during certain times of the day because you make too much noise. These electrified, especially these last mile solutions, are really popular right now because nobody's really dominated that space, and there's a lot of opportunity there to make a real difference. When you get bigger into the larger vans, I start to lose a lot of interest in anything that's not a quote unquote legacy automaker. Like there's the shift propulsion folks. They had a van.
Shift Group, I think it was.
Yeah, Shift Group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what their EV thing was marked, and they had an interesting product, a couple interesting products, but it's like, okay, this is a prototype. It's a Class C or Class 3 van. You say it's going to go on sale then, but like, it feels much farther away than if you look at like a BrightDrop or a Ford or a Chevrolet or Ram or anything like that. They're sort of better suited for that. Now, somebody like Shift, though, that deals exclusively with a very particular type of customer, may be able to create a van that's more useful for that. But you won't see, when everything gets sorted out, you won't see thousands or hundreds of players in the larger EVs, like the vans, the Class 6, 7, and 8 trucks. You're just gonna see the ones from the players that you already know and recognize. Now the last mile stuff, that smaller stuff, the scooters, the bikes, the Arcimoto stuff, and to address Alan's question, who just asked, Ford claims roughly 47 miles is average. So a lot of those vans, when we're talking like about an Amazon van, is they may do a lot of stops throughout the day, but they're usually regional or even suburb locked. So there may be 5 or 6 different subdivisions this van goes to, stopping at every house or every couple of houses, but the overall mileage isn't high. They're putting the most mileage on going from the depot to wherever their delivery location is. So so I mean, just to further address sort of Alan's question, which is 128 miles or whatever on an e-transit enough? It won't be enough for everybody. That's where something like BrightDrop will make more sense if ProMaster goes farther. But what Ford claims, and I tend to give them the benefit of the doubt in this case, is they've had modems in all of their vehicles now for 4 or 5 years. They're collecting all that data. So all these fleet customers at one point opted in, because we all just always opt in. They have this data. They see how far people are driving. So when they came with a battery size, they wanted to control cost as much as they can to make the van affordable, because batteries are still expensive. We're prior to the Ukraine conflict, we were just under $100 for a kilowatt hour on a battery. That price will drop as low as 50 or 60, but it's got to be at like 60 to be a gas engine equivalent. I digress. Point being, to control costs and everything, they say that we have the data to that 120 miles, 110 miles is actually enough. One thing to keep in mind, and this is actually a point that I want to make, because I know, Tim, you remember back when truck towing, when before J2807, anybody could claim whatever they want for towing. Like, it was sort of the Wild West. And I believe Toyota was one of the first ones to sign on to J2807, I believe. Were they?
Yep.
And that's sort of like standardized everything. Now, in Class 1 vehicles, we have a standard for determining both fuel economy and EV range through the EPA. Once you get to Class 2B and above, there's no longer an EPA test cycle. Just like your 3/4 ton pickup trucks don't come with a fuel economy number on the sticker. So Ford says that they test their range with roughly half payload. So they're not doing these vans empty. I talked to Fred Ligori at Daimler, and recently, and he couldn't give me the exact number. He said that if I was really going to quote him, so he's going to be mad that I'm quoting him. But if I was really going to quote him, he'd give me the exact number. But on their Class 8 tractors, they are typically towing right around 55,000 pounds when they determine range. So there's no benefit to the customer, to the client, to overestimate range, or to sandbag too much. They want to try to be as accurate as possible.
Right.
So
Right.
until there is a way to test all of these that's consistent, it's going to be a little Wild West.
Yeah. And one other thing to point out too with these fleet trucks is they use fleet management systems that optimize the routes. So I feel like it was FedEx or UPS. They did a study on the routes that the drivers were doing and found that like if they only took left turns, like they would be more efficient. And so, in addition to the battery range and being very honest about what that battery range is, they are also using the telematic systems to make sure that they stay on track and are as fuel efficient as possible. So, there's a lot that plays into what that is. And I forget who it was we had on a few weeks ago that was talking about the Ford E-Transit. And Ford very adamantly said 100 miles was enough range for most.
Okay, time out. I got to talk to Andre here in a minute, but holy crap. We're all pointing the screen here.
Yeah.
I want to show this. Jill, you were talking.
Yeah.
We have a $200 super chat. That is a freaking record. Thank you, Jason. Yes. That makes these live streams worthwhile. These live streams take a lot of work to get everything going, and holy cow, man, that is.
You should see his latest comment, though.
Is his latest comment? I'm going to go down.
He didn't mean to 199.
It was 199. Yes. If I can find a way to refund that, I would refund that because that is. He had a $200 comment, tried to do 199. So
okay, we won't answer your question, Jason. Now we will not address it.
So we will work on that one. But so I know Andre's wife is lurking in the background, but I want to get to a few things with Andre before I let him go. Totally agree with you, Chad, that last mile delivery is where it's got to be. Commercial vehicles do make a big difference. Last mile delivery just makes sense, controlling fuel costs. And I was really surprised with the EV because EV600 that Jill drove, because normally I can hear it coming with a vehicle, and I couldn't hear it coming with that one. Usually it's brakes, acceleration, stuff going on, it all. So I do want to get to the Toyota Tundra. I don't know how to fix that, Jason. I don't know how to fix that. Because we can't do any live stream these days without talking Toyota. Tundra. I got to do the little pinky thing. Anyways, because you have one, I have one, and that's gonna happen. First of all, to answer your question, I don't think Toyota dealerships are going to do much with markup. Although I wrote a story today on TRD Pro, and on that specific model, yeah, I can see a markup on that one because that one's hard to get, hard to find. It's just a tough one to get. But I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen with that one? But let's go back to this. You've had your truck for 5,000 miles. I am nearing 5,000 miles or so. I get asked all the time whether or not I love my new Tundra. And it's an interesting question because, you and I, Andre, we both drive a lot of trucks, and it's hard to really fall in love with. And one, I know you have your XLT, which you've had longer than I had my truck, the Ford one. But after 5,000 miles, what's kind of your honest take now?
So now, I did another trip in the Tundra, and it's now 7,000.
Gee,
so we actually did a couple of long trips. You picked it up in Houston, so did we. Mm-hmm. We drove it to Los Angeles and also Phoenix. So a lot of kind of long trips. Even in the first trip, I mentioned the seat was not kind of for me. The seat comfort wasn't quite there in the Tundra. And I tried measuring it. I tried to figure out why it was. Maybe it's just my body type and it doesn't quite mesh with that particular driver's seat. But in general, the truck has been super solid. We've towed, so we towed 8,100 pounds from Denver to Phoenix, which is about 1,000 miles. And the truck was, it had enough power. But when you when you strain that twin turbo engine, like, even from Fords, right? The efficiency does go down when you're using that twin turbo V6. And you do need to use it when you're towing on the highway because you're, maintaining high speeds, all that stuff. So I think it's a very good truck. Is it the best truck? I don't think I would call it the best truck, at least in the segment right now. And I think it's partially because my expectations were super high, because it took, the previous generation was around for quite some time. My expectations were sky high because it's Toyota, right? Toyota does things, they have the capability to do things, on the next level on many different, in many different categories. And so maybe that's why, I don't think it's possibly the leader or, this like this segment end all leader, but it's a very good truck.
Who's the worst right now?
Wow.
The worst. Who's the worst?
Who's the worst?
The worst.
I mean,
let's talk some crap. This is after dark, right?
Hold on. Let me answer Dan Cooper. Dan Cooper, I do accept Roman's challenge to come down to his ranch. I've talked to Andre about this different times. I will be going down to TFL. I've just got home from the big road trip last week, so I actually was going to send an email to Roman today to start planning the discussion on when to do that. Because I think it'd be great to get both our trucks together before one of us sells and things change. I mean, Roy's changed stuff. So I am heading down there. I'm gonna get the worst truck in a minute, but I think our experience is pretty spot on. I think what I've said in my videos, I've been critical of the truck and I've been excited about certain things, right? So I towed a camper, got 11 miles per gallon. I saw your video, you got like 8-9 miles per gallon. I think that's pretty darn good out of a half-ton twin turbo V6. And I thought the power delivery was great. Even, like I saw the hybrid number. I always got to say high then rid. Like that's why, because I don't want, I'm just going to rid it. That's how I'm thinking about the stuff. But anyway, I have to say that the hybrid versus the iForce Max was pretty disappointing as far as the total numbers. When I compare it, when I think about my gas driving experience, and I have not driven the hybrid. I couldn't make it happen in California, and I just haven't a chance. But I feel like the truck tow is fine. Like I didn't need more towing capability from it. I was like, the gas is just fine. I don't need to spend the extra $3,500 for the extra 100 foot-pounds of torque or whatever the numbers turn out to be. I know what the numbers are. Just it's late at night. I'm too tired to look them up. That's the story. So yeah, and your seat comfort thing is interesting because you have longer legs than I do, and so I think that's probably the seat bottom cushion is probably what's going on there. I drove 3,000 miles from here to Chicago, Indy, and back around, and I actually felt pretty decent getting out of the truck after I was gone like 8 days, and which is really surprising because, I mean, I'm not used to driving that long of distances all the time. And so it's like, that's just what happens. So I think, going back to that, I think the wow factor with the Toyota Tundra is not in what first meets the eye, unless you really love the styling of the mustache, as I call it. That I think that the wow is really the engineering underneath the hood. I think really the wow is the long lasting capability and all the kind of stuff they've been, besides wastegate issues that, long term stuff. I think that's fantastic. I think go ahead. Before we get the worst truck, go ahead.
Yeah, and before we get to Alan, because Alan just made a donation, so thank you.
$20. Wow, man, thank you for that.
I just wanted to say, after some long trips in a Tundra, which I've done 3 now, it's noticeable how quiet and refined the truck is. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't want to focus on the seat. Seat is my issue, and sometimes just my leg falls asleep or whatever. But how refined, how quiet it is, how confident it is when towing. Just the you don't have to white knuckle it at all, mm-hmm. And the engine seems like it's kind of far away from you. It's so insulated and isolated, and the transmission is wonderful. So I think it has a lot of good stuff in it. I would change, as far as kind of interface and software, I think Toyota could improve a little bit the way they do their, like trailer garage, they call it, where you can define your trailers and you kind of tell it how, tracking mileage and so to speak. I kind of like the way Ford does it, where you can actually, the truck remembers each trailer and how many miles you've been towed each trailer and the MPGs and all that stuff. I think Toyota can improve that a little bit to take it further.
Yeah, I was really surprised in that too. I mean, I think there needs to be a little bit more clarification too on the two tow haul modes. I don't think it's clear to all consumers. I know you had to redo your test, and actually, after you redid your test before I went towing my test, I had to redo a short segment of my test because I forgot to put in this tow haul plus. I just find that confusing. I think they overthought that aspect of it. I think that there's and then the bed really, I have a bed step, and actually people want to know the video of that because I basically bitched at Toyota so much they sent me a bed step, and it doesn't install. It doesn't. The instructions don't work, and behind the scenes when I was in Michigan, there was I can't show you because we were behind the apron or the curtain, whatever. And Mike Spears and I are underneath the truck talking about it, looking at a bracket that's in the way. So there are some concerns with that. Some of the accessories, they don't build the accessories, but I just have overall concerns with that. But I tell people all the time, like, I like it. The software issues I've had with the truck, some of the issues I have with the lighting inside the cab at night, some of the looks of it, to me, they've made the truck hard for me to love, if that makes sense. Like, I like it, but I have a hard time loving it. It just doesn't immediately get that from me. All right, so worst truck. I think the easy target here is Nissan Titan. I mean, that's the easy target. The Honda Ridgeline outsells the Nissan Titan, which basically says a lot. But I don't think it's a bad truck. I think the 2020 refresh was mucho better. I think that they've made some leaps and bounds with that, but it definitely, I think it could make some changes and be that much better. What I was surprised about today was I was doing some research on the Ram trucks because that's probably the next one I'm going to buy, and I was surprised when Ram came out in 2019. They were like, "Wow, oh my gosh, wow!" And then I towed with it, and I didn't have the towing setup screens. I didn't have the cameras that GM has. I didn't have those pieces that I thought they stood out to me now. Like, they really stood out to me how much different it was versus how wowed I was in 2019. And Andre, I know you guys did a Tundra Ram towing like I did, and I'd be interested in your thoughts because I had quite a bit of sway in that 5.7. I had the same truck you had. I had quite a bit of sway, and I'm just curious, as far as you go, what's the worst truck you had, and what's the stuff going on, and as far as the towing with the Ram, and then we'll let you go because I know you got something, probably dinner going on and stuff. And
I have a one-word answer for Gene. Quick, no. Okay, Andre, go ahead.
What's the question?
It says, is the Titan worse? Is the Titan worse than the Ram Classic? No, because the tech and the Titan's better.
Yeah, technology better. The Ram Classic is like just a freaking bargain.
No, I mean that's
so
that's the deal.
So Andre, worst truck, and then were you? And the other question, I probably go this one first. Were you surprised when you set up the towing for the Ram, as far as the screens and things and how it towed?
So we just had the Ram backcountry for actually an extended loan, thanks to Ram, which was really great of them to let us do that. And we spent about 3 months, almost 3 months with the truck, about 3,000 miles. So I got to learn that Ram 1500, which was a Hemi 8-speed, right? That's what they do. Yeah. That's what Ram has done for I don't know how many years, as long as TFL truck has been around, maybe 10 years and more. And so getting into the Ram, and actually next to the Tundra, and what Ram struck me with is just, I don't know, just easy. It kind of fits like a glove to me, Okay. It was just easy going. The ride, I want to say maybe a hair better, just a little bit more comfortable than the Tundra in some ways. And it was just kind of, and that Hemi is super smooth and the sound is, great. And the 8-speed transmission is also very good. And it towed pretty good. I think the Tundra has maybe the kind of stability. It's one of the top in stability, okay. I think, in towing, especially when loaded heavy. Ram is probably right next to it. But that's what kind of struck me with the Ram, because I criticize Ram because they haven't updated the Hemi. but I don't know if it needs to be updated. So I'm like arguing with myself. Do I criticize them for kind of maintaining their powertrains and adding e-torque and just making small changes and improvements? But it's also really, really good the way it is. So that's kind of where Ram is.
Yeah. I mean, I still love the truck a lot. I just thought a software update. I was surprised Uconnect 5 didn't have more of a trailer setup for me. I don't know. I never found it. And I'd like to tow again because I think that I learned, and maybe you know this answer, but the air suspension self-adjusts. It's self-leveling air suspension when you hook the trailer to it, and it seems like it messed up with the weight distributing hitch I had, and people thought that may have caused more sway inadvertently because I had the weight distributing hitch hooked up, and then the truck re-leveled itself, right? So I think I might have messed up the sway lib on that.
I mean, it should. I mean, it has a height sensor. I mean, it should rethink it. I mean, it should adjust to it, right?
Right.
I mean,
the truck should be smarter than I am. I agree.
Well, all of these trucks are now smarter than I am.
Well,
and they actually try to overpower our intelligence with their own intelligence.
Yeah.
So, which I don't always like. What's the worst truck? I mean, I don't know.
I can tell you, I bang my head every time I get into Tacoma. I have a serious mark here, right? And here's the thing: Jill didn't even think we had that issue going on. Like she thought it was kind of, well, it's a Tim thing, right? People said my belly got in the way, which thank you for those comments, by the way. Really do appreciate those. But I was smacking my head. And then we had the tall guy, Mike Cadill.
Yeah, the tall guy.
Yeah, we filmed him, and he loved the truck, and then he bent his head to get in.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, and he goes, oh, I didn't realize we did that.
The roof's too low and the floor's too high.
Yeah.
Like it's the weirdest way to describe it, but it describes it perfectly. The roof's too low and the floor's too high. And you don't want to drive it for a longer period of times. The aftermarket loves it. The residual values are amazing. Won't deny any of that. But I don't like driving it.
Okay, let's break this down because worst truck's always hard because there's positives of all truck, worst all the trucks. Andre, the big question to you is that Jill and I argue all the time. And I know you had a GM, you had a Chevy 2500, you had a Silverado, didn't you? You had an older one though. You had a
we owned the Trail Boss, the 1500, for about a year.
Right, but before you started working on the channel, didn't you have a?
Oh, yes, I had a Duramax. I had a 2500 Chevy 2002.
Okay, so older truck, right? So seat comfort. Seat comfort on GM trucks. Where are you?
Well, right now they're too stiff.
Yes. It's like sitting on a board, isn't it? It is. It's like sitting on a. You know what? I remember the day. It was like back in the day they had the thing that says like a rock, and now I'm like, you literally embodied
like a rock. Yeah,
rock,
literally.
Right?
Like a rock, and I'm thankful that they're updating their interior. So that's what I'm thankful for.
But who knows what you're going to get? Like these days, it's all over the place on which version of the truck you're going to get, thanks to the chip shortage. And like if you order it this way, you're going to get the new stuff. If you skip this option, like it's very confusing for a normal person.
Older GM trucks, I had a 2002, and actually, and then later from Roman, I bought a 2003 H2 Hummer H2. And then we just recently purchased a couple more GM old SUVs. We're working on this budget series we're calling Go Big. And we bought an Excursion, and we bought a Suburban, and we bought a second-gen Escalade. And the Suburban is 99, and the Escalade is 2003. All of them have basically the same seat design, and they're all like couches. They're all like sitting in your love seat at home. That's the way they used to be. And
what happened, GM? What happened?
I don't know. And maybe now, we need to be sitting more upright, and not slouching enough, and be very precise. But
are they putting too much crap in the seats? And I mean that seriously, because like a seat heater.
Are they overstuffing them?
Well, no, a seat heater and ventilation, fine. That's whatever. You can make a seat comfortable that way. But I was just in a Lincoln recently that had the 24-way perfect position seats, and I thought they were too hard because they've got all these motors in it. So like GM seats have these vibration functions in them. There's other things. They're packing the airbags in there. Is there just not enough space in there to be comfortable?
No, I disagree. Like, I actually really like the Lincoln seats. I think
they're
that
trash.
I like them. And if you're going to talk about them compared to GM, like the GM seats are miserably, abominably uncomfortable. But the Lincoln seats, well, so one of the
I don't want to talk
really...
about Lincoln, but I'm only mentioning because I think that they're trash because of seat motors.
I don't agree. I don't get that, because the adjusted, I think they call it perfect position seats or whatever.
Perfect.
Perfect. I find them to be very adjustable, and I did not find them to be too stiff. Not in comparison to General Motors, not at all. I mean, they're stiffer, but not too stiff.
Well, yeah, but we got to clarify this. I mean, I think my left butt cheek weighs more than Jill does. So, I mean, we have a seat comfort difference there, clearly. So, one last question for you, Andre. I don't want to keep you too long. Jill thinks that I am the biggest jerk because I'm trading out my manual transmission on my old Chevy truck for a automatic. But you, sir, are taking a Ford F100 down to Phoenix and put an electric drivetrain in the vehicle. So, Jill, who's the bigger jerk here? The person who's putting... What? Come on! I'm not going electrified.
Hey, you know what? You may as well, because, by the way, like, you're killing it. And I am way more on board with electrifying an old powertrain than I am with, like, gutting a perfectly nice truck. You're gutting it. You're, like, ripping out its soul.
Well, either way, I'm torn, right? Either way, modifying something classic, because it comes with a kind of some sort of gravitas, right, in history and legacy, right? So I'm torn. That was a hard thing to do, to take that Ford to Phoenix.
I will say this. I thought your energy level in that video might have been just a little bit down. And I could tell you're a little bit... they had a little tear coming down in one segment. I don't know if you caught that. It was a wind or something came through, I'm sure. I mean, it wasn't, allergies this time of year. I totally get it in Phoenix. But did Roman like put your arm behind your back and say, you have to do this? Was there
No.
Did he offer you like a donut by the time when he came back? What was the deal?
No, and we actually no, I was actually leading this because I met the guys at Legacy EV almost half a year ago, maybe more, and we were thinking, like, what would be the best donor vehicle to try to do this electrification process. And partially it's because the truck is tired. The truck we had, the F100, first of all, I would have done it if it was like a Survivor great condition truck, right? Sure. If it was like an auction quality truck. But it has like an old, it has an F-250 chassis. It's got heavy duty axles. It's got a dump truck motor, which is actually really reliable, the straight six gas engine. And then it has a transmission from hell. Transmission, I don't know if it's similar to the one in your truck, but it's tired. It needs to be rebuilt, right? So instead of rebuilding the transmission, Jill, I'm sorry to say.
Actually, like I said, I'm totally cool with your decision, Andre.
So instead of rebuilding the transmission, because this is already kind of a Frankenstein's monster, right? We decided to go all in and make it electric. And we might beat the Lightning. We probably won't. Probably won't beat the Lightning. But although, by the way, Tim, did you know that old Ford logo? It has a gear. Old Ford truck logos from the 50s and 60s and 70s. And it had a lightning bolt through it.
Did it really? On your F100?
Guys, you should look it up. From 55 to like 70, Ford trucks had the logo, which was like not like a pentagon, but like a weird kind of a shape. And it had a gear, and then through it was a lightning bolt. So it was called, I think it was Thunder and Gear, something like that. And how appropriate is it, Jill? It has a lightning on it. So
see, I'm like I said, totally cool with that decision.
So anyway, so that was our decision. And by the way, Tim, I got it wrong. But let's talk that.
Yeah, it's got a lightning bolt. So I have on the screen. If you listen to the podcast later, I'm sorry, you have to Google it. This is it showed up as 1953, 54, 55, 56. Ford F truck, F100, F250 hood emblem has a lightning bolt through it.
So yeah, so it's appropriate. Anyway, and that project is going to come a little bit later because it's going to take a while, as you can imagine, to redo. Take the some of the components out of it and put the new components into it. It's going to take quite some time. But Tim, let's talk because Roman's offer still stands. We want to maybe come together and just maybe the ranch is a good place to meet. I hope.
Yeah, so, no, I need to get down the ranch. Like I said, I need to email you guys. I was gone all last week, as you know. I saw you in India, and I just got home and I'm just getting things caught up. But it's on my list. I need to take my truck in for service, so I'm waiting Tuesday to get a Maverick. So I'll just drive a Maverick down. So, or actually, you guys want to see the Tundra, so I should drive the Tundra down. Yeah, we will make that work. We will. I think it'd be cool to get both trucks together because the great part with you guys and with me is we bought different colors. I gotta tell you, how embarrassing would that been if we ended up with the same color? Not embarrassing, but have been the same.
It would have been awkward. It would have been awkward.
People are like, did you just steal Andre's truck? What's going on?
No, you know what we really wanted, and you probably wanted that too. I really wanted the SR5, and I wanted the simpler truck, like me, like kind of the simpler the better. But we wanted to be first, and we were told like, no, you should try to shift to the limited. Maybe you'll have a better chance of getting it sooner. So that's kind of what we did. But anyway, but it is what it is. So
yeah, I had to get. They told me heated seats, and I was like, okay, I go limited. And apparently, I don't know. Toyota's been back and forth. Apparently, you can get heated seats in a certain X. If you click this box, whatever, on the build and price tool, which doesn't work, it's terrible. But yeah, so I know you got to go. I just wanted to make sure that we had talked. So thank you for stopping by, Andre.
Yeah, thank you for having me, inviting me, and Chad, good to see you, dude.
You as well.
So thank you very much. I'll see you at another work truck show. Okay.
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 Bye. All right. So, Chad, how fast are EVs going to fail?
Very quickly. Absolutely. They're never going to last.
We got infrastructure issues. I mean, this is just a little game, right? I mean, we're just fooling around with this stuff, right?
So to give you a serious answer to your question before we start, just going off, automakers have spent too much money at this point. Even if let's say a new administration comes in and every single barrel of oil in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve floods the market and gas is back to 90 cents a gallon, it won't matter. It just won't. The sunk cost basically of all of these automakers in it. Now, I don't expect adoption to take off super quick. I think that we're still JD Power projects 2030 to have maybe 30% penetration, and that's actually being optimistic, they had said. So we're a ways away yet, and it's the government, though, just to address Dan's concern, also subsidizes the petroleum industry quite a bit as well. So they're gonna back whatever horse they want to back.
Well, to me, it's more about global. I mean, the EPA is. People are like, the EPA, the bastards, or whoever's in office, the bastards, whatever. And I'm like, look, these companies have their own agendas, and globally, it's a freight train that's not going to stop.
Well, and let's say Ford. So let's pick on Ford. Ford's a big enough company that they can produce a vehicle.
Pick on Ford.
They're big enough company they can produce a vehicle specifically for the United States. Heck, if they wanted to, they could make a California emissions car, like a ZEV state emissions car, like they sort of used to. But a lot of these other automakers, especially after consolidation and everything, they want to build one car that they can sell in as many markets as they can. So even if we had no EV mandates at all, they still want to be able to sell the cars in Europe. So they're going to build the vehicles to meet the European emissions, and they're going to bring them here. So because that's the most cost-effective way to do it. And infrastructure stuff is getting better at this point, that it's not going to matter.
Right.
The gas cars aren't going anywhere. Like they're just not. But it's it's a process that's moving forward, and I think that it feels very accelerated. Tim, to your point earlier about Work Truck Show, I didn't. Nobody attended last year because there's 9,000 leases that are currently undrilled right now. I'm just saying, like,
I will say this. Hold on. You made a very wise comment before you banned me on Facebook, and your wise comment
I didn't ban you on Facebook.
It was that EVs aren't for everyone.
No, they're not.
They're not. I think that gets lost in news. It's
not. So I talk about EVs right now. They're not for everybody.
Right.
You have to live in we're at the very beginning of this curve. Now it feels accelerated because a lot of stuff happened when everything was shut down for pandemic. That feels like the acceleration started to happen. And I think it did. But the thing is, Jill, I know we talked about it on this other podcast that you do.
Last week we had you on.
Which was great. But that was, if you live in an apartment, an EV might not make a lot of sense. If you live in a big city center, it might not make a lot of sense. Battery tech is still evolving. There's solid state that's coming. There's this graphene stuff that's coming. There's these things that are still a little ways away that are going to lower charge times even more and things like that. But its infrastructure is getting better. Charge times are lowering. And in certain situations, especially in commercial operations, EVs starting to make a lot more sense. An e-Transit, a BrightDrop van, an F-150 Lightning. Take retail out of it. Forget about the retail customer entirely. These vehicles have the operating costs of 30% of a gas-powered equivalent. Fleet managers are just going to be like, okay, sign me up. And with this advanced software, Jill, you were talking about the software at Work Truck Show. With some of the software that these folks are running forward with their acquisition of Electrify, what Ram's going to do with Geotab, what these folks are doing with software and managing the fleets is much more than just saying, oh, this car is in this location at this particular time. It's completely managing charge cycles. It knows dwell times. It knows peak charge. It's way more to explain than just in how long we have time here.
Yeah.
But even if that just moves forward and retail doesn't, it's still a very significant change. And fleet managers care about bottom line, overall cost of ownership, lowest operating costs. And right now, in some applications, that's an EV. Once Lightning gets here, once Silverado Work Truck gets here, once the BrightDrop van becomes a little bit more popular, that's going to grow.
Right, and so Jill, you're currently in the golden state of high prices for gas.
Yeah.
So, and you drove an EV today in the golden state of high prices.
I did. Yesterday. Yeah.
And then you recharged your legs in the sun. But I'm curious on your thoughts before I overheat in this hoodie. I'm gonna take off here in about a nanosecond. Did being in there versus being in cold Chicago, did that change your opinion at all about driving EVs?
I don't understand your question. Why would the cold have changed my opinion?
I'm just curious. Does your opinion change as you go to different places?
No.
See?
Why would? I don't understand why it would.
Exactly. She doesn't change for anything. It
doesn't. I do change if somebody makes an intelligent argument to change my mind.
All right, fine. I got you off the chair a little bit, a little fired up, sitting on your seat. So what do you think of driving EV in the golden state of high gas prices?
Again, why is that changing my mind? Okay, so let's talk about the Volvo C40 because that's what I drove today. And
you drove a Swedish car in California.
I drove a what?
Swedish car in California, right?
I did, in fact, drive a
It's technically Belgian. It's technically Belgian.
It is. It is built in.
I'm thinking of another one. I'm thinking. Is it? I thought they were.
No. I mean, they are a Swedish company, but it is built in Belgium.
Technically, they're Chinese, though.
Well, that's true.
So
they were originally Swedish, bought by. It was a Geely. Then now it's built in Belgium, and
Anyways, Jill, no, I drove in the fall. I drove both the C40 and the updated XC60 that you drove there. So I have a base of reference for if you want to talk about this.
Yeah, no. So I really liked the C40. I think it will be a great urban vehicle.
Wait. What is a C40 besides just a number and like letters? I mean, what is it?
That's what it is. It's number and letters. But it's built
it's an XC40 coupe.
Yeah, coupe, but it's built on the same platform as the XC40
and the
Recharge, which is all electric, and it is the coupe version. So it's got a rear sloping roofline. So it's not any smaller than the XC40, but it kind of is. So I did a TikTok actually, since we're having the TFL day here. I conscripted Tommy from TFL into service, and I made him get into the back seat of the XC or the C40 because somebody had asked me how somebody would fit into that back seat who wasn't me because I'm short. So I was like, "You're tall, Tommy. Like, how tall are you?" And he's like, "I'm 6'1". And I was like, "Okay, into the back seat." So no, he had to literally like do one of those to get in.
He ain't 6'1". That's what his Tinder bio says. But
that's what he told me. He's like, you know what? I'm 6'1", but somebody's going to say I'm not 6'1", so let's just say I'm 6 feet tall. Okay. So Chad, you're the guy. You're the guy. But so he had to do like the to get in, and then when he was sitting in there and the door was open, like you really like you couldn't see half of his face. I actually also put a picture on Instagram of him sitting in the back. So I like it. I love how it looks, but you're not going to fit tall people in the back seat.
All those crossover coupes.
Yeah.
SUVs, all of them you lose rear seat space for design.
Yeah. But I overall generally really like it. It's comfortable. I didn't have any range anxiety. We were driving in the mountains, but I mean, first drive program, they're very carefully curating where you're going. Yeah. They have GPS trackers in the car, so if something bad happened, they'd be able to find me. It was funny because I was getting ready to come on this trip, and my mother was like, "Is that safe?" And I was like, "What do you mean, is that safe?" She's like, "Well, electric cars haven't been out very long." And I'm like, "They've kind of been out a while."
They've been out for a little while.
And by the way, like very carefully curated program. I'm not going to run out of fuel. It'll be fine. But I mean, is it 250 miles of range that it has?
Something like that. Yeah, it's the
downhill stiff wind.
I get them all
with Jill in the driver's seat, who only weighs like 95 pounds. Yeah,
I get them all a little confused only because they're all on the same platform. So it's XC40, C40, and the Polestar 2 all have the same battery, same motors, same powertrain. It's just a little variations because of the body shape. But yeah, around 250 miles. I think they're all excellent EVs for what it's worth. Is it going to set the world on fire? No, Volvos don't. They're going to be more popular in Europe than they will be here. The C40 though, especially with that fjord blue interior, is gorgeous.
Whoa, I love the blue interior. The blue interior and the blue exterior paint. I was like, I think that might have to be like my next hair color. Like I'm gonna have to go fjord blue, not Ford blue, but fjord blue. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. As sort of, like there's a lot of things that are coming. I know that the chat room mentioned synthetic fuels. Porsche's pushing that pretty hard right now too. I imagine that if we go 25 years out, 20 to 25 years out, your back and forth day-to-day everyday car is going to be an EV. It's almost stupid not to at this point. I don't want some buzzy 2-liter turbo in everything driving me places. It's annoying, these commoditized vehicles that people drive they're better as EVs. They are. And then also at that point, battery tech is going to be better, so it's going to make more sense in trucks and things like that. But where you will see internal combustion engines still exist, that's where you're going to see synthetic fuel take off. So for your classic that you drive on the weekends, when you start going to the racetrack on the weekends, if you're one of those folks, like whatever, they're going to have synthetic fuel available, and it's going to be expensive. It's not going to be cost effective compared to electricity. But for those that still want to have the internal combustion experience, they will be able to have it.
Yeah, I think a lot of stuff's gonna change. I think drag racing goes away. Like to me, it's like you get two EVs together. It's just a matter of who's got bigger motors. There's no thrill from it.
Yeah.
I think NASCAR dies. I mean, you're looking at Formula E is starting to do the thing. I don't think that's very exciting. I think a lot of stuff goes away. I think I'm gonna keep my truck gas until my kids take it over, and that's what's gonna happen because the thrill of driving to me. I mean, I know I haven't always driven the most amazing EVs and been blown away.
No, but so some EVs are just boring to drive. I think the Volkswagen the ID4 is boring. I think it feels. I mean, it's a Tiguan. It's a Tiguan. It's electric Tiguan, and Tiguan's not that exciting. The Ioniq 5, for as good as it looks, just drives like a normal car. EV6 tends to have a little bit more driver DNA in it. Feels a little bit more Porsche. And then when you get to the high end, like if you want a fun driving EV, you go drive a Taycan. The thing is, not everybody can afford a Taycan. But as the battery tech gets less expensive, companies that we know and love now that make driver-focused vehicles will make driver-focused EVs. They'll be a little different. They'll feel a little different. I totally get that.
Guys, they have a Taycan in their garage, and they just drove it for a while, and they kind of go like, okay,
it's
one of those things.
I mean, outside of a track car, the Taycan GTS I drove was fantastic.
Okay,
I mean, it was.
I want to switch gears for a minute because I was going to.
That's not a truck.
Oh no, I was going to ask a couple of questions. Completely off because people have said many times, why does every live stream turn into EV conversation? Because that's the topic of the day, just what's going on. But what I'm curious about is, I'm going to completely switch gears. You started your own outlet, and you're doing YouTube now, and now you have calls, right? So you have a partner or starting this own outlet stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've said to people for a while is that YouTube is really hard.
YouTube is very hard.
Yeah, so now you're doing EVs, which are even like.
So you've got hard plus hard,
right? Right.
Does that make it easy?
It can be. No, it doesn't.
What's been your experience? I mean, are you getting lots of hate of EVs on your comments? Is traction being a problem? Is it hard to report on it?
No, I don't think gas is going to go away in our lifetime. I just think it's going to be synthetic. But sorry, the chat room's open, so I'm distracted. I'm distracted. Well, once people get done calling me fat, which I already know, thanks. Once we get past that point, there are some people that are genuinely like, they bought an EV, or they're thinking of one, and they watch every review that they have. It's like it's like when a new truck comes out, right? Like they're not just watching you, Tim. They're watching Andre. They're watching other people all together. So I get a lot of that. I will occasionally get somebody who's like, especially on stuff that might be slightly controversial or a little bit more difficult to understand for a normal consumer. The e-Transit, for example. There's a lot of people hating on the range on that. I'm like, I get it, because in a retail mindset, as a retail customer, that's not enough range. That's absolutely not enough range. When you start looking at fleet applications, then it starts to make a little bit more sense. But again, that's some nuance that's sometimes hard to explain even in a 5 to 10 minute YouTube video. You get the occasional Tesla fan that says, "Oh, hey, Tesla's the greatest thing in the universe," and that's it. Which Tesla does do some things well. I will openly admit, they don't do everything well. Nobody does everything particularly well. But yeah, other than, I mean, it's just tough because it's just tough starting out because there's so much competition, and the algorithms, as you know, some stuff gets promoted and does really well. Some stuff slow burns. Like, I'll put a video out that one of the first videos I did was on our long range. We had a Leaf for 3 months, and Ben and I put together a video for that, and real slow burn, real kind of a stinker video. And now it's in our top every month because it's just people are finding it in a very slow manner. Some stuff takes off really well right in the beginning, hits, and then kind of fades. We went to the drag strip with a Mach-E GT. Video did exceptionally well first week or two, and then kind of just petered off. So YouTube's tough because I'm trying to figure out what people like. I have to understand that people are going to inherently not like me, for whatever reason. I'm a 30-year-old fat white guy.
Is that your Tinder headline?
It is actually at this point. But again, like I currently don't have a co-host or somebody to bounce off of, which I do a little bit better personality wise. I like bouncing off of people. So having somebody like a Jill could improve things there.
I make everybody's life better. Come on.
Don't fall in the trap.
It's
I know you're a big geek kind of guy. It's a trap.
It's a trap. So it's tough. It's probably not as tough. It's probably not as tough as the Tesla Cybertruck that last star.
Ooh, good transition to the back to the chat.
But so do you find that you have a struggle? Like, is it still a struggle in EVs? Like, I'm asking because Jill and I discussed this all. It seems like it comes through a lot in our discussions. Is that so I'm really in depth with trucks, and I'm in depth with trucks I think to a degree, right? So I'm not going to go tell you how to change your spark plugs and what DPF fluid to add or what additive to add for diesels. I don't go that far in depth, but with EVs, it seems like you have two things. You need to go kind of skim the surface and talk about like real life experiences with them, or you can go like the engineering explain kind of stuff where you kind of go like way deep in the weeds.
Sure.
So,
well, you can do that too, right? Like,
are you still finding that at this stage, you're still like baby steps with people talking about, hey, this is a battery. Hey, this is how the battery works. Or do you find it's better to kind of go in depth with stuff?
It's a bit of a mix depending on what I'm talking about. For what it's worth, I used to do a lot of truck coverage before my business partner and I started the CV site. And while the subject matter is very different, truck fans and EV fans are equally enthusiastic.
Probably or rabid.
Or you said it, not me.
I mean that in the nicest possible way.
There is just a chat room full of truck fans here, so I'm trying to play nice. But no, generally though, people get excited about trucks, people get excited about EVs. That is a small subset of the overall population. So I think that at some point you have to make a decision as a content creator. Do you want to reach who you want to reach? Do you want to reach the most number of people possible? Or do you want to reach the more dedicated enthusiasts?
The appropriate people.
If you're trying to give broad consumer advice, then you don't want to talk about battery cell chemistry and cell design and shape and this and that. You don't want to. You can briefly talk about it because people are interested, like, oh, hey, what's coming? But then your audience is much smaller. But if you get the farther you get into the weeds, the more nitty gritty you get, the less people you reach. So double-edged sword. Ad rates are better when you're niche, because you're reaching some people lower down on the sales funnel. Not to bring business into this, but ad rates are better there than when you generalize. Like if a buff book may get is a fairly general audience these days, a motor trend, so their ad rates are going to be lower than somebody like a Scott Brady at Over the Journal, because that's a very, very fixed audience. So yeah, I haven't. We're trying to see what works, and as we grow and as I can add people, which I'm hoping to do soon, we'll be able to have different types of videos, to where there could be segments or schools, like almost classroom style, like, hey, here's what's going on, here's the education behind it. Some people just want to know if the car they bought's any good.
Or they just want to have their opinion of whatever car validated.
Right. Yeah. That's really.
I've stopped answering the question of like, what's your favorite truck? What's your favorite car? Without getting qualifiers first, saying, why do you ask that? Because I've more than once stuck my foot in my mouth by completely insulting somebody about the truck that they own the automaker plant that they work at that builds the car that they asked me about. So I'm just like, why do you ask me that question? Oh, you bought it. Yes, it's a great car.
Well, it's helpful that nobody makes any bad cars anymore. So that doesn't. Really, absolutely terrible. Really, absolutely terrible.
Something
you wouldn't.
Think of one.
Jill has opinions.
I have lots of opinions. I mean, right now in today's market, I can think of one vehicle that I'm like, why? Why? I mean, I know why, but like.
But if somebody bought it, like, it's not unsafe. It's not going to break down on them. It's not going to be unreliable, unless it is an Alfa Romeo Giulia. Then it'll probably do all of those things. But you know,
I mean, I can see
but there are no bad cars, right?
Right, I can see the vein in Jill's head like throbbing at this point. So
they don't make the journey anymore.
But today, Jill, you had the EV experience with Volvo. So as a journalist, I'm curious now, what was your decision to do? Was your decision to talk about the car, or did you want to go in the deep weeds with EV? Were you going to just talk about everyday lifestyle stuff? I mean, did you have that thought process before you started, or did you just?
No, I mean, to me, it's
you just winged it like normal. Thank you. I'll have to watch the video later. You winged it. All right, great.
I winged it. I do it. That's what I do. No, I mean, so when you have an electric car, you have there's often a lot of cool tech that comes along with it, because all of these guys are trying to out tech each other, and so you got to get into the weeds a little bit about some of the technology that you are going to encounter, but it's not. This is an EV, so let's talk about all this EV thing. Let's just talk about this cool thing. Like, okay, so the C40, I got totally geeked out about the fact that there is no way to turn the car on other than sitting your butt in the driver's seat. Like, there's no button, there's no switch, there's no knob, there's no key, there is nothing. You have the key on your person somewhere, and you get in the car and you sit down and it turns on. How do you turn it off? Because again, no button. You just get out of the vehicle and shut the door and it turns off.
Yeah, they stole that from Tesla, but there's a few EVs. There are a few EVs that are doing that. EVs are still it's still an early adopter product. It's not as early as it was, but it's still early.
Okay, to go weird on you guys, I was watching Jay Leno's Garage because I do enjoy Jay Leno for a moment of time here and there. I can't watch don't binge watch me, don't binge watch others. It's freaky, it's creepy, don't do it. But I was watching Jay Leno's Garage.
I met him once in his green room.
Yeah,
the Mid 400 one year.
And he had Weird Al Yankovic on. Do we know Weird Al?
Who doesn't?
Good. I didn't know. That wasn't on my job questionnaire profile I sent to Jill before she got hired.
He's still producing music, I believe.
He is, actually.
He's actually a genius. He really is a smart dude.
Yeah.
But he was saying he literally went and bought a Tesla to drive only because he kept forgetting to change the oil in the vehicles he had. And so he had a little station wagon growing up, and it was given to him in college, and he drove it until the thing just clunked out because he never checked or changed the oil.
So in 3,000 miles, it died.
Yeah, well, no, actually, he drove 10,000 miles without checking the oil at all, and ran it completely without oil. He's a brilliant guy, but he's just not.
Steve Jobs bought a new car every 6 months because he didn't want to buy license plates for his car. Yeah. He just didn't want to do it. So he bought a new car it would come with temp tags.
So I mean, that was always my question about the EVs. It's like, are people just not interested in maintenance anymore? Do they just want to have a vehicle they don't have to worry about? And an EV, right? I mean, I had a friend in New Hampshire who has an EV, and he messaged me once, and he said it was funny. The dealership called him to bring the car in for an oil change. And he didn't know what to do, and I said, "Well, you take it in." He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Just take it in for your oil change." He had a Nissan Leaf, I believe it was. Take it in, drop it off, go in the waiting room, grab a magazine, sit there for a while,
find the oil,
and just see what happens.
No, that would be a YouTube video for sure,
right? But I mean, are we getting this? I mean, are we getting this point with this population where they don't? It's not that it's not that they don't want to do it. It's just our lives are really busy and they don't want to deal with the hassle.
I think that we're way past that point, and I don't think it's because of EVs. How long have you had a car that has a more advanced oil change light in it than just a mileage counter? I'm thinking of like Hondas for a decade or more now has had the maintenance minder that's watching everything. Like BMWs, all of the Germans are watching oil viscosity and this and that, and cars can tell you if the brake pads need replaced. Like, nobody wants to do maintenance because nobody does it. Your audience, present company accepted, of course,
right.
But as a whole, people don't want to do it. And like as mentioned in the chat room here, like my dealership comes and gets my car. they come and get it and take it away and deal with it, so I don't have to do it. So some dealerships and stuff are savvy with it. Genesis does that because they don't really have many dealerships at all. Polestar for maintenance, I guess it's an electric car, but still, I just don't think people want to mess with it. And the automakers want to be able to have the long warranty periods that they offer, so they put all of the idiot-proof stuff in that they can. I think an EV just helps with that. But I think that was long before.
First, consumers are idiots from Chad.
And EVs are idiot-proof. No, they are not. EVs are not idiot-proof.
No, EVs aren't idiot-proof either. Nothing's idiot-proof. But I mean, people as a whole are, as a group, as a large collective group, are pretty dumb. So, again, present company accepted, chat room accepted. But I mean, look at how people drive. Let's just talk about that or not. Right. But there is less maintenance. And what will really be interesting is how dealerships deal with that, because you don't have to typically replace your brake pads for up to 100,000 miles on an EV, because regen is doing so much of your braking. You're not using the brake pads. Obviously, there's no oil. The Dexcool and stuff for the active thermal management, that's a lifetime service component. You need to rotate your tires every 5,000 miles or whatever, but other than that, and replacing wiper blades, there really isn't much maintenance, and that's such a profit center for a dealership. So that's gonna create a real issue, especially if we are at, let's say, JD Power's 30% number by 2030. That's but
I think that the next level of maintenance isn't going to be obviously changing your oil or doing techie thing or doing the hands-on things. It's going to be the computer work, like the head unit in Tim's truck, or it's going to be some kind of a weird, glitchy, buggy thing that can't be fixed with an over-the-air update. Or, it's going to be the tech features that are going to break. It's going to be the fact that you sit in your car and it doesn't turn on when it's supposed to turn on, and there's no button to turn it on. So, I mean, that to me is going to be the kind of stuff so you're not going to have to change belts. You're not going to have to change the oil, but you're going to have to do these other things that are related to tech. So you're going to have people a different kind of person in your service department. And frankly, I think that they will be able to charge more to fix your ignition, which is really your seat, than to change a belt on your car. So I think the profit center is still going to be there. It's just going to be different.
All right. So before we got to wrap this up. We're running out of time on the StreamYard, and Jill just laid a gigantic teaser for you guys inadvertently. There is, and I'll just say it, the video is not coming out yet because we're in the process of doing this. But if you're watching this now, one of the 79 people on this live stream, you're in for a little treat. There is a massive problem with my truck, with the head unit. There's a massive problem, and it's probably the reason why I wasn't saying I need to go to TFL next week, because there's a massive problem. So that video is coming soon, because it goes to leadership next week, and it might be there for a while. So sorry, I don't want to let it out the rabbit out of the bag, whatever the deal is right now, until I do the video. But yeah, for the people on, you're gonna want to watch that, because there's no fixie. So,
but I do want to say it's not my fault.
Yes,
because there was some question about the fact that it could have been my fault, and it was not.
There really was. There was a moment in time there where there was definite question in the air, which we cleared up. But
not my fault.
It was not Jill's fault. So that's it. That's it for tonight. Jill, again, EVPulse.com for more. But Jill will be with us hopefully for Chicago next week, and when she thinks she's the boss. And yeah, we'll have more for that. And Jason, I don't think you're on this live stream anymore, but hit me up. I'll give you a refund. I need refunds from YouTube, but I will hook you up with that, because that's.
Or he can try to just dispute the charge with the credit card company too.
You can do that as well, but yeah, that's pretty crazy. So yes, Elliot, it broke during the road trip. It was
not my fault.
I am really not happy with Toyota at the moment because of that. It was a bad thing. So anyways, I'm going to hit the end button. Good night, guys.
Hey. I just wanted to say also, One, thanks for having me. And two, it's nice meeting everybody in the chat room. It was fun. Thanks.
Wow. There he is. Look at the love.
So follow him on YouTube. Follow my Twitter. Follow him in. Where do you want people to follow you? We should say that too. So evpulse.com.
We're gonna be professional here.
We are going to be professional. We need to help you get more followers.
Yeah, being professional. I got another glass of whiskey coming. Hold on.
All right. Wait. Hold on. What kind of whiskey do we got going on here?
We have a Woodinville, which there's currently in the United States a Crown Royal shortage, by the way.
Oh. Or along with everything else.
Crown Royal shortage. Yeah. You have a new sub, Alan, sub to EV Pulse as well on YouTube channel. So
I'm waiting for this little counter over my left.
And DB Cooper is going to sub over there too.
Oh, I appreciate that. But generally, just go to evpulse.com. I am on Twitter. I do a lot of are we allowed to curse here?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're drinking.
I do a lot of shit
posting. Himself whiskey.
I do a lot of shit posting on Twitter. So if you're interested in that, it's just my name, which is Chad Kirchner, all one word at. But just go to EV Pulse. Try to be. I appreciate all the feedback on the YouTube channel and stuff like that. And I already know I'm fat. So there we go.
There you go. Thanks, folks. All right.
Thank you.
All the rest of you. We will see you down the road.